the 3rd Division, but also the UK's ARC, which acts as our HICOM, and simulated but very realistic host nation requirements and frictions, such as things like internally displaced persons and criminal elements. And that's all brought together in a simulated environment that we work within.
Look, explain the ARC, sorry, just in case.
I will do, mate. Second, on the training of the divisional headquarters. So this exercise is a really unique opportunity for the divisional headquarters staff. We don't often get an opportunity to come together as a full divisional headquarters. We have a number of individual augmentees that come into the exercise or come into the division during a time of either warfighting or training such as this. So it presents us with an opportunity to train ourselves and to develop our own procedures as we exercise within a core context. In this case, the United Kingdom's Allied Rapid Reaction Corps, which is the UK's standing, enduring core headquarters as part of our commitment to the NATO alliance. And this training with the divisional headquarters is important for 2 reasons. Firstly, Exercise Cerberus looks to train the divisional headquarters staff ahead of their deployment onto Exercise Warfighter in Fort Hood in Texas next year, where we will be operating, training as a 3rd United Kingdom Division, and we will then be validated in a core context, and this time under the US 3rd Corps. So we must be ready for that. Secondly, and probably more importantly, this exercise provides us the time and space to be able to enhance our own warfighting competence, our own combined arms excellence, and to be able to sharpen our warfighting edge. And as many of you will be aware, the United Kingdom's Integrated Review, which was released last year and was our latest strategic review of our defences, made some significant structural changes to the British Army, and many of these changes fell on the 3rd United Kingdom Division. First and most notable of these was the creation of the Deep Reconnaissance Strike Brigade Combat Team, which is also here on the exercise. And we hope to use Exercise Cerberus to exercise the DRS for the first time and to optimise our ability to integrate multi-domain effects simultaneously across the battle space. And that's a really exciting prospect for the division headquarters.
Be there in a sec.
possibly work there and perhaps conduct a couple of interviews if that's what you're interested in. If you do want to conduct any interviews or speak to anybody on film, if you come and speak to me first, I can make that happen.
So I'm the Chief of Staff of 12th Armoured Brigade, which is sort of what you're coming to visit here. You're coming to visit one bit of our headquarters, depending on what sort of topics we want to talk about. The actual physical practicality of this exercise and what you're seeing. We've got one bit here, and there's other bits spread all over the place. So you have visited maybe 1/4 of the headquarters. Maybe it'll be a test for you on your way out, whether you can spot them. They're the other side of this open area near the viewing sort of house over the other side. See if you can see them. There's 2 headquarters over there, and at the back of the area there's another one. So, yeah. So what topics do you want to? So start to get on a bit. So welcome to Sennelager. Welcome to Sennelager. Welcome to 12th Armoured Brigade Combat Team. On a personal level, it's a great pleasure to be back here. I was based here with the Queen's Royal Hussars for close to 10 years. My eldest daughter was born in Paderborn, so it's very much like coming home for me. So I quite enjoy that bit as well, and spent many of my junior days running around on tanks on this training area. So that aspect is lovely. But Cerberus is important for a whole load of other reasons. You've already heard from General James Martin, GOC 3 UK Division, about the importance of Cerberus in the wider context of NATO readiness, the 3rd Division exercising its command and control muscles in one of the largest exercises that certainly the UK has done in quite some time. And I think actually, as a general point, which I'm sure was brought up, an exercise where you do many different layers of command and control are quite hard to pull together, because it requires a lot of communications, information systems, a lot of vehicles, a lot of senior people at all different levels, and quite often when we exercise it might only be one layer. So maybe a company, a battle group, a brigade, maybe just the division headquarters, whereas here we've got a proper sort of vertical slice of everything, which is quite rare, but incredibly invaluable, because it irons out all of the frictions that come with crashing those things together. We exercise all these things a lot of the time, but it's not until you pull them together that you can really start to work through them, and that's absolutely invaluable, because this is a command post exercise. This is about exercising and proving command and control, the ability for headquarters of different sizes to move soldiers and other associated elements, but clearly principally military elements, around the battle space to achieve the effect that's asked of us. And we broadly have to assume a lot of the time that we're operating in somewhat of a vacuum. Clearly it's not a vacuum, in the sense that wherever we operate has got people, infrastructure, natural environment, but whatever conflict has happened that has caused us to be there, one cannot assume that the communication systems are up and running. You can't assume that water's running. You can't assume a lot of things. And so the military system has to be able to know how to bring all those things together to enable itself to be effective, which creates, the logistics tail that you see, creates the fact that we have different communication systems that maybe, because of their security aspects and the fact they are having to create their own network, for example, you can take out your iPhone and it works fantastic. Other phones are available. Take out your phone and it works perfectly. But that's because actually there are a load of mobile phone masts around here. So you're operating a little mesh network. With the military system, clearly there are aspects that can bounce off that. But if that network doesn't exist, then we've got to create our own one. And if you just think how many mobile phone masts are out there, it's a lot. So we have to work really hard. I mean, over there you can see an example of a signals attachment. And that's creating part of this network. And it's a constant challenge. So I'm a tank soldier by background, but some of the main people on this exercise are the signals experts, who are linking everyone together in that sort of vertical hierarchy, creating that web of communications that allows people to have situational awareness, i.e. find out what's going on, and be able to make decisions on it. And it's hard. It's hard. And that's what we're practicing. You can't rely on certain things. You can't always rely that your computers are going to work. And so actually, when you go in, you will see there's a lot of boards. Yeah, there's a lot of people writing stuff using whiteboard markers. There's a lot of people with notebooks, because an iPad, you can't trust it. Well, you probably can in the sense of in normal world, but if you don't have the connectivity, yes, you can get ruggedized things, but again, when you go in, it's dirty, it's muddy, there's diesel, there's sharp aspects on armoured vehicles. Most electronics aren't quite robust enough to be guaranteed. A board, some pens, is amazing. You can do a lot with that.
You want to send a message of deterrence?
But the measure of deterrence with exactly that sort of thing is, it doesn't matter what you do, we can still fight. You can kill all of the cons, and you've still got mission command, people who understand what they're doing, verbal orders, like looking people in the eye and telling them what they need to do, writing things simply, writing things clearly. If that means doing it on a board, great. But what that means is that we're good to go whatever happens. So it might not seem sexy sometimes to have a board and some pens, but it absolutely is the mark of, in my view, a good military, that with the most basic of things, you can go and fight and win.
In here, if you'd like to speak to them. Behind you, that's where we have our geo, so the people who make our maps for us and analyse the ground in electronic detail, and then our signals, so our people who deal with our communications. Behind you here on the right, that's where our engineers are. So we have an engineer detachment that aids us in our planning, a great deal of looking at the ground and routes, etc. In this tent here, someone asked earlier, that's where our sustainment element is, so that's where our logistic planners live, our medical planners, and our recovery planners work in there. The tent just behind them, that is our fires tent, so that's where our artillery and air defence planners work. To the right, over here, this is G5 or plans. This is where all of these specialists, all of their work comes together, and the plans team then pull that together into a coherent plan that can be understood by generalist people. So this is a command-based exercise. So although there isn't physically anyone pretending to be the enemy, there is a system that acts as the enemy, a large computer database system that acts as the enemy and reacts. So I am,
not you personally, as a group.
So here so we're currently in the plans.
Thank you.
I'm not really sure. I don't know.
Hey everybody, and welcome to exercise Cerberus. Firstly, my name is Colonel Mike Wade-Smith. I'm the commanding officer of the 2 Yorks battle group, which forms part of the next generation combat team. It's great to be back in Germany as part of exercise Cerberus, which is a large exercise testing the Warfighting Division. The next generation combat team is hugely exciting to be leading the way as pathfinders for the British Army in Germany this week on the first major experimental exercise of 2022. Here we are testing doctrine, advancing tactics and testing new capabilities that the British Army seeks to use as part of Future Soldier as we seek to optimise warfighting with our allies in Europe to fight and win the first time. I'd like now to move you over to some stands where you'll meet soldiers of the combat team. Thank you very much.
Thanks. In taking place that the troops have been practicing inside the simulation, they're going to conduct a autonomously supported resupply of troops in contact. So they've been fighting, they've expended a large amount of their ammunition. What we're going to look at here is they've expended a large amount of their anti-tank ammunition, so the Javelin missiles, and they will conduct a resupply of the Javelin missiles. But rather than us taking a large proportion of our manpower to pick up that kit and equipment, carry it forward into danger, we're going to do that using a robotic autonomous system, which will bring the kit and equipment forward to them. So if you'd like to just move yourselves around onto the road, just face down into the woodline, you'll see engaging enemy armour using their anti-tank missiles, and they have now reached a point where they've expended a lot of that anti-tank ammunition. They're then called forward for a resupply, and we're going to conduct that resupply with a remote autonomous system. The max range of the system is about 1,000 metres, so it can be remoted from 1 kilometre away. So as we said earlier, there's no need to expose troops to danger or put themselves in harm's way to deliver that ammunition forward to the troops in contact. So at this point, the 2 soldiers from the call sign who are going to conduct the resupply have moved rearwards away from the fighting section to a place where they can actually get the remote autonomous vehicle to, so that it can conduct its resupply. And there will be some time because the guys are going to basically call for it from the system they've got that links to the operator. Ihr könnt näher rangehen, wenn ihr wollt.
Last mile resupply of ammunition on the battlefield. The experiment is supported by Soteria and Elbit UK, providing both the experiment and the systems that we're using. What I'd like you now to do is be invited forward to speak to the two soldiers involved in the experiment and understand what it is like to be in the next generation combat team. Thank you.
You're then able to change it round, regroup everybody and just try it and start it again instead of having to pack up, move everybody to go to that other place. You can just do it all in front of you. So it saves time easily.
So a vast improvement.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, how about you?
Yeah, I think on the other scale of things, we've got the RPV there. It's great for, you know, transporting kit, you know, rather than sending a man to do a job, when we can have someone operating the vehicle to do it.
And how have you done this traditionally? Before you've been experimenting with this kit? Has it got a name? I don't.
Mutt, yeah.
RPV.
The RPV, the RPV, yes. Yeah. So the RPV.
Okay. That particular variant is called the Mutt, M-U-T-T, the Mutt, but it's a type of unmanned ground vehicle.
Okay. So, bear in mind, got no knowledge of the military. We don't know how you guys operate. But how have you done this up to now? When you do read, then how does that work?
And so instead of the RPV, something like that would usually happen like in the back of a Land Rover, which will take a lot more time, use your fuel. You've got the risk of two blokes then being in the vehicle. So, and you can't always get to some of the terrain that you'll be in, like say a woodblock simple, but say if you're out in the open ground, you've got rocks to deal with, you've got like steep hills to deal with, like a Land Rover can't always get into that scenario, whereas that 100% can.
Through an urban scenario where they are in defence and there is a red enemy force that has an intent of seizing a bridge in the centre of the urban area. The troops, the commanding officer's troops, are representing one of the three companies that would form part of the next generation combat team. The other two companies are represented on the map but are not in the virtual system, so our focus is on the virtual system. And what the virtual system gives us are sets of data, of consumption rates, of casualty rates, how far soldiers move, how effective a weapon system is, how much ammunition they consume, how many casualties they take, and so on. And we can use that to help the British Army in its design of the next generation combat team, because this is the first version of it and it will evolve over time. So the data we provide here and at subsequent experimentation events will enable the Army to make some informed decisions that are based on evidence, not on hearsay or rumour or opinion or whatever. Evidence-based decision making is what it is all about. So, what kind of conditions? No, I can't predict what the outcome will be, because the soldiers will decide what that outcome is. We are setting them up with a scenario that involves them defending against a red attacker. We will see at the end of each of the runs what the outcome was, and we will use the evidence from that to inform the next run. So there are no predictions. We use purely objective data that comes out of this to inform our next decision. That answers your question. So what you can see on the screens in front of you are some camera shots of the mapping that we use to brief the soldiers prior to their virtual experiment runs. And then the two left-hand screens are representations of the battle as it is evolving in the virtual world. So you can see the red and blue icons, you can see various other lines, map marking symbols. The one on the right is representative of a field-based command and control system. The one on the left represents the virtual terrain that we have the soldiers operating in. So they are based in an urban town. We've called it Sennelager. It could be called anything you want to call it. But they are occupying positions and they are waiting for red to arrive before attempting to prevent them from seizing, that red that is, prevent them from seizing their objectives. My team are supported by a team from Elbit Systems UK who provide what's known as the interim combined arms virtual trainer, and it enables us to put soldiers in front of an individual computer screen to fight their battle. They are providing the technical support. My team in superior shirts provide the knowledge and the expertise that supports that technical provision, because with experimentation, you can have as many maps and models and simulation systems as you like. Without the knowledge that the commanding officer's soldiers bring and that my team bring in helping facilitate this, all of the data gets lost. So it's a combined effort between the Army, between civilian contractors, and between technology. And it's those three aspects that experimentation hinges on to provide the data to inform the decisions.
But in a safe environment such as this war game, so that we can advance and optimise warfighting, so that we can fight alongside and with our NATO partners. Thank you.
And that from 1-0?
Yes.
Happy days. And then, just that sit there in the next 15 minutes.
Yep.
In the meantime, is anything else come through from there?
No, it's just the same. The combat effectiveness still at 90%.
At 90%, so green. So they're green, they'll be across the professional into
confirming that the company in contact is at 90% combat effectiveness and fighting the lead elements of the enemy forces that are seeking to gain a foothold in the main defensive area.
So, Mavs, if you begin switchblade launch, we'll get eyes on again, and then you'll have 20 minutes in the monitor.
Switchblades of the unmanned aerial system that is weaponised. So
Time
integrated in the next 4 minutes,
and then you'll have 20 minutes Mavs
without any humans in Paris.
It's highly likely.
Nice, if we keep another mission for the 1-5.
Yeah.
Stop looking at that.
Okay, so I'll be slightly quieter in here. My apologies, because these guys are busy engaged in the battle, but the screens you saw in the control room show the little pieces of the battle that you can see now being fought in here, and this represents one of the sections from one of the platoons from one of the companies. But they are fighting with some new equipment, they're trying some new ideas in terms of tactics and techniques and procedures, and they are in an environment that is unusual to them, the urban environment. So there's a lot for them to think about and to consider. And they're using a system that many of them have not used before. But all of these individual computers are linked up, and we've got about 85 individual soldier stations across the building, all linked up, fighting the complete company battle in a virtual world. The great thing about the virtual world is that if something goes wrong, we can reset and restart without anybody else, without anybody actually getting hurt. We can count the consumption rates of all the ammunition, so every time these guys fire, the computer records it, and we get a data set at the end, a readout at the end that confirms how many rounds were fired. And every time they get wounded or injured or tired, the system will downgrade the quality of the person to the point where they become a casualty. So we then understand the impact of long-term, the stresses of combat, falling down the stairs, or indeed being hit by a red bullet. So we get all of those different scales of data coming out of the system. So for us, capturing the data is really useful. But we can't do it, and I mentioned in the control room, without these guys playing the game for us, because they know how to fire a weapon. They know how to fire an anti-tank missile. I don't. But I do know how to bring people together in front of computer screens. So the team thing of working alongside the military and contractors and technology, the three poles that drive experimentation, is so important.